Hey everybody, on here, and I am today up in this beautiful area. I am at the top of Whitecap Mountain, and it's a little bit further out than what I go sometimes, but I had not done this trail before, and I really wanted to come up here. We have a nice day, and if you see me swatting stuff around, I'm back with fighting mosquitoes again, so hang in there with me. But I wanted to do this video extra with you today because it's a really special day, and it's why I took this hike today. It's really amazing out here, and I think that this is going to have some really beautiful connections for you in this. Today, June 9th, is the day that Orlie and Jesse connected. And it was out when Jesse was doing prayer work on a creek in southern Utah and connected up with Orlie, and the amazing power of their journey and how it touched lives everywhere. And this really ties into something that I've been noticing with a lot of people in my life, a lot of different people that I know, spiritual healers and teachers and all of this stuff, where they've really just questioned their God connection. And I just want to throw in a little plug here for a friend of mine, because she is doing, Lorraine Cohen, she's doing an amazing 21-day journey in connecting with God. And it's called the 21-Day God Experiment. And it's an amazing journey that is all about our connection and how much are we holding that connection, and realizing how much, anything can be seen through when we hold that connection. And that connection, really, when we look at God's presence in our life, God's presence works with us in this amazing way that is all about immortal love. And I thought this is so appropriate as I was thinking about these different things coming up here along the way, because there were a lot of cairns along this trail. And, of course, cairns are markers to help keep us on the path. And those markers are always there, but we have to pay attention. We have to see them. We have to be willing to connect with them in order to stay on our path. And when I started coding out what cairns were all about and the energy of cairns, it is really this powerful piece that is about listening, and that the voice of the God presence, the voice of God's energy, is there all the time. It's always present, but it is so magnetic. And I hear a lot of people, they talk about this, and this question came up for me in the last couple of weeks about my personal connection. And, for me, it's in everything. It's in every life form, everything, everywhere, all the time. And it got into this conversation, and I really want to express that for me, God isn't something to be feared ever. There's no doubt that that's a magnificent power in our universe, a magnificent power in every life force that there is, including ourselves. And that power has the ability, yes, to do anything and everything. But God is of immortal love for me. And immortal love cannot be just shunned away. It's not something to be feared. And our human mind doesn't always understand it. So sometimes it can go into these spaces. And I'm connecting this because so many of my friends lately have felt like maybe I didn't hear my messages right. Maybe I didn't get the pieces correct along the way. Maybe my visions were wrong. Maybe God isn't standing with me anymore and I'm off track, or things like that. And this has been coming up for people because they've been hitting some challenges in their path. They've been hitting some pieces that were scary for them and that were rough for them. And I think that this is a thing where when life gets a little scary, and it wasn't that long ago I did a video on fear, so you might want to check that out too to see what I had to say about that. But oftentimes it's so easy for us to abandon the path, and it's when we disconnect from it, that when we disconnect from the God presence, that we start to feed into this aspect of everything being going wrong, and this sense of abandonment and all of these pieces. So it really is this interesting component that when things get a little rough on our path, that we just want to run and go. And that's really more of our human side that's wanting to do that, because the human side, we got to remember, only gets one little piece. It's operating from its consciousness, and it only gets one little piece of things, whereas the soul is seeing the whole thing. The divine presence is seeing the whole thing. And like Karen's, that keep us on track, God's voice, that God's presence is so magnetic that we can't ignore it. And sometimes we go through hardships, but that doesn't mean that we've been abandoned along the way. So I think that this is a powerful thing to keep in mind. And it is so important that when we are on a journey that is about God's presence, which definitely Jesse and Orlie were on that journey, and was on that journey of immortal love. And it didn't mean that they didn't have challenges, because they had plenty of challenges along the way. But it meant that they didn't abandon the journey just because it got a little bit rough. And thank goodness that they didn't, because, if Jesse hadn't kept her connection along the way, she wouldn't have been able to see the love in Orlie. She wouldn't have been able to recognize the immortal love that was there. And this is such a big piece of keeping our God connection, is to remember that the immortal love is there no matter what. And that immortal love is going to see us through. That immortal love is going to carry us through the toughest times of our life. And that is exactly what carried them through on their journey with each other, was this piece of immortal love. And that was an unbelievable, powerful piece. And had Jesse not been willing to take that journey, to see things through, we wouldn't have the codes today. We wouldn't have them here as a resource, as a tool. And really, I was thinking about this, I think it was last night, that really the codes for me and for Jesse were all about God's connection. It was all about being connected, being in that alignment. And that's exactly what it is, because it's almost like a voice of God. It's almost like that voice that says, here's where you're going to be on track. Here's where you're going to be challenged. But I'm going to be with you through it. All of it. As long as you keep connecting with me. And that is just so incredible. And throughout their journey, the 11 months that they shared together, it was amazing, all the different people that they met along the way. And the hike that I took up here to Whitecap Peak, it was from the time that I got on it, and all this mica was in the ground. Maybe not quite as abundant as it was, but one of the first all-day hikes that they took together was at Harney Peak in South Dakota. And it was an incredible journey, the way lives were touched and people were connected. And every time Jesse would pull out her singing bowl and play it, and how Orlie would just hang there listening and being with her in that space. And the people that they met along the journey and the lives that were touched, because she saw the journey through. So I wanted to share these pieces because I can't stress it enough. And I'm sorry, there's so many mosquitoes out here. It's just crazy. And I wanted to stress it enough because it is so important to our path. And we don't want to give up on something. It's important for us to know when, yes, we are headed down a direction that is maybe not the best direction for us. But it's also important that we don't just give up because the journey gets a little rough, because it gets a little scary, because it triggers something in us. And more than ever, what we need to do to see that journey through is to make the connection. And that's what they did over and over and over and over again. And so today I want to bring a little meditation here from the mountaintop on this incredible day that's out here, and to share with you pieces of their journey in the sense of letting you take your own journey into connection for a little bit, and to send out some strength for you of immortal love that you can access if you'd like to, and to enjoy for a little while, especially if you're going through some challenges, especially if you're hitting those questionable points on the road of maybe I should just give up. And I've heard that so much from people. Maybe I should just give up because it's too challenging. It's too much. I can't take it anymore. I can't keep going in the direction that I'm going. And sometimes we just need to shift our direction. Maybe sometimes we just need to change the way that we're walking. Sometimes we just need to change our mindset. There's so many little pieces that we can do to reestablish the connection. And it is that sense of giving up. And we know that it's not right. And we know that we're on a journey that is about connection when our heart just won't let us give it up. Because inside our heart, we know it's just dying. It's just killing us. And yeah, sometimes we just have to find another way through. It's like when the big trees fall, sometimes we have to find a way through. Sometimes we have to look to other people, to give us the resource or the wisdom, or to be a physical cairn in some way for us. And I was walking up this path and I was thinking about how the trees, there's so many places around here where the roots grow very on the surface. But those aren't the only roots that they have. And we're the same way. We have two types of roots, just like the trees do. We have one type of root that is on the surface, and those surface roots are the roots that we use to connect with other people. Those are the roots that we use to help other people have strength when they're walking through something that is maybe muddy and slippery, and to give them some grip and some traction in their path. And then we have the really deep roots that dig down. And those really deep roots are the ones that sustain us. Those are the ones that see us through when the conditions get rough. Those are the ones that give us stability. So I want you to also think about during this time what the roots are that you have. What are the roots? What are your surface roots that you're sharing with people? What are your surface roots that are your solid stables that allow you to be a beautiful support for other people? And that doesn't mean we just let people walk on us all the time, but, how do we do that in the world? How do we use our own base principles to do that in the world? And what are your deeper roots? Those roots that a lot of people might not even see, that see you through. And those deeper roots oftentimes are the connections between us and God, or the God presence. And the surface roots are what allow us to be a channel for God's energy to reach somebody else. So this is some really powerful stuff. This is some really powerful pieces. And I do want to move into the meditation, but I want to share a couple of things, because in Jesse's journey, before she ever started the journey, she received this singing bowl as a wonderful gift from somebody that she had a huge amount of heart for and a huge caring for. And she always did, even when it came time to let that relationship move in different directions. And for her to go one direction and the other person to go the other direction, it didn't mean that she stopped holding that person in her heart and stopped caring about what was happening for them. And all the way through, she always did. She always cared about them. And this came as a gift to me from a beautiful friend down in Vermont at the Pyramid. And it is a Labradorite heart. And the Labradorite heart, the heart symbol was a very big symbol for Jesse and Orlie. And that heart symbol is about immortal love. And that's part of why once Orlie passed on, Orlie kept sending Jesse heart signals, cloud shapes that were hearts in everything, everywhere she went, so that she wouldn't forget, and she would realize that the connection never stopped just because Orlie left the body. And the labradorite is a reminder that we're always in command. We're always in command of our life, but we hold that command by connecting with God presence. So the labradorite heart, when it comes down to it, is remembering that God's presence isn't just material. God's presence exists in the freedom of our heart, in the peace of mind that we carry, in the immortal love that we have for ourselves and for others, and our willingness to share that constantly in life. And then I have another beautiful gift that came to me, which is these wind chimes. It's called a wind chime, but it kind of looks like a little mini harp in a way. And it's a much lighter sound. It's very energetically tuned and very sound tuned in there, which is a really cool thing. And this came to me for a more recent connection of a friend, actually a friend prior to the pyramid, that saw this and said, "That's just so you. This is you. I think of you when I see this." And it reminds us of the impressions that we leave. And I know Jesse and Orlie left impressions everywhere that they went. There wasn't a life that they didn't touch. And it just seemed like wherever they were, people opened their hearts in ways that, they didn't normally. And that was the impact that they had. That was so incredible, is the way that they allowed themselves to be a vehicle for God's presence to reach everybody, for people to remember. And that's really what the codes are about, is remembering presence, remembering connection. And so this beautiful piece, thank you, Diane, by the way, for that incredible gift, came to me a few months ago at Christmas time. And so I'm going to be working with that today. It'll be the first time I'll be using it out in nature. So I think it's going to be powerful. And, I've had just beautiful birds singing along the way, and I've walked up creek beds today. And so this is an amazing journey, and I want to share it with you. So I want you to take some time to get comfortable. And we're just going to take our own little journey here for a little bit. And we're going to get kind of started, and I'm going to shift between the two of these and let you just take your own journey for a little bit. Take the time to do the connection. I want you to think about where have you felt like you wanted to give up, or where have you felt like you're being abandoned, or where have you felt like the journey's just too rough. And to just let yourself find the strength to find the connection again. And to remember that if we don't see the journey through, then we're going to have to keep repeating those challenges. We're going to have to keep doing it over and over again. So the more that we see things all the way through to the end, then the sooner we can bring those challenging patterns to a close, and the sooner we can move on to other things. So I'm going to leave you with that. Get comfy, and we are going to do some meditations here. Well, a meditation, and it's really just going to, again, be your own journey. Start with some deep breaths. Let's do that. Let our bodies calm down a little bit. And I want you to just kind of now hone in to where have I felt like giving up? Where have I felt over-challenged, overburdened, over-stressed? Where have I felt abandoned lately? Where have I felt like I just want to break down and cry? And I just want to walk away. Deep breath into that. And from here on out, I am just going to be quiet for a while. And maybe you'll hear some birds, and maybe you'll hear the wind blow, I don't know. But I know you'll hear the music. Find your strength to see the journey through. Feel God's presence with you. God is within you. The God presence is you. You are a piece of that very essence. Take a moment to know, because you have God's presence with you, to know because you are connected. You have everything you need within you to see your journey through, to complete it, to bring it into its fulfillment. You have every piece of wisdom and resource needed to see your way through anything. And just take a couple of deep breaths. And may all of you remember the journeys. May you all remember the immortal love and the things that are beyond this earth. Pieces that exist in everything here but are not dependent upon them. Take care, everybody. You have the power. You are the light. You are it.